Hello, my name is Raya. Today, as part of the Future Now Association and as part of the Agora Next Gen project, I have the honor and the pleasure to be interviewing Vesi. Vesi is a chairperson of several not-for-profit organizations based in Bulgaria, Meeting Points Foundation, It's Up to Us Foundation, and Amnesty International Bulgaria. Vesi's background is in community and international development, with strong emphasis on humanitarian work. Vesi has years of experience working as a facilitator of transformative processes and programs. Prior to her moving back to Bulgaria, Vesi led the Victorian First Aid team of the Australian Red Cross and taught at Monash University. Vesi holds a bachelor's degree in business from Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology and a master's degree in international development from Monash University. You will hear her talking about it later. Her hobbies include cooking, reading, traveling. She's a charismatic and passionate leader and has been at the forefront of many human-centered initiatives. I hope you enjoy this interview and others that we conducted during the Agora Next Gen project. Enjoy! Okay, so hi, here again. Can you tell us a little bit more about your personal journey, about how you ended up with such an active citizenship life and so many civil society organizations that you're running and that you're helping out?
First of all, thanks for the invitation. I'm super excited to be here. I've had a very, very long journey, I have to say. I cannot remember the exact time when I started caring about people and nature and things in general. But I do remember when I was like a child, like very, very small, that I really loved dogs. And for me, like, I wanted to have all the dogs in the world. And when I was in the countryside, in a small village, I would go and look for stray dogs and I would bring them to the place where we were staying. Similarly, here in Sofia, I remember finishing school and one day my sister was looking after me and I was finishing school maybe around 1:30. And on the way from school to home, I saw these stray dogs. And I remember picking up the small dogs and going around and asking people whether they wanted to take the dogs. And my sister was waiting for me 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m. At 6 p.m., I came back home and I was so happy because I have found a place for the dogs to stay. Needless to say, I think she was not happy with me. And maybe this was the first thing that I remember that is more socially engaged, but there's been so many other instances where I've helped my friends. I had a friend that was quite sick and needed money. I had some classmates that needed support, but maybe at that time it wasn't so, I don't know, it wasn't direct. I just did these things. I didn't realize that I was helping people. There were just things that I did because I thought that they were, important to do. And when I graduated school, I went to study in Australia. So I went to Australia, and that's where my journey towards more socially engaged life started. Maybe by coincidence, maybe not, but I ended up doing a lot of NGO stuff. So I worked at Australian Red Cross. I worked at several organizations that dealt with different issues such as domestic violence, child abuse, long-term unemployed people, you name it, I've done it, essentially. And coming here, I actually came back to Bulgaria fully recognizing that this is what I want to do. Like, I want to work with people, for people, so we all live better. Because at the end of the day, for me, I realized that this is what makes me happy, to be able to contribute to society in one way or another. And I wanted to engage all my time, 24/7, to do just that.
That's amazing. Was it related to your studies?
Yes. Actually, my first degree is in marketing, something very, very different, because my sister was doing that. So I thought it was a good idea to follow in her footsteps and actually do something similar. But later on, my colleagues actually pushed me towards a more social degree. So I ended up studying international development. And I have to say that after finishing or while I was studying this degree, I changed the way I looked at things majorly, because we would talk about development as a way to, work with people, not for people, and to make sure that they're at the forefront, that it's not you as, a white privileged person going somewhere and saying, hey, I know how you should do things.
It will save you.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's amazing. I really like that outlook on life. And this is how you came back in Bulgaria.
Yes, I remember I was teaching at Monash University, and I remember the start of the semester. Every semester, I would ask my students, why are you studying this? Like, what do you want to gain out of it? So I can, make sure that what I do in class is something that supports their learning and their goals. And I remember at the time, I had students from all over the world. So I had people from Australia, from the States, from Europe, but I also had students from countries like the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam. I had students from different countries in South America. And they turned to me and they said, well, I'm here to learn how to resolve issues, how to tackle problems in my own country. And I want to go back and implement all of these learnings back in my own country. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, like I'm here in Australia, I'm living a super nice lifestyle. Like I have a great job, I have a great house, I have everything, that I had wanted. But in my home country, in Bulgaria, like there's so many issues, and this degree is not even recognized. Like even now, there is no such degree in Bulgaria. There is no international development. So I thought that my skills and my experience and my worldview would be much much more helpful here than in Australia, because there is so many people that do this kind of stuff back there. Mm-hmm. And so I packed my things and I sold everything, and here I am.
And we're very happy and lucky to have you back here, doing so much. I am, every time I hear you talk about the things you do, there's something new added to the portfolio.
Yes.
So can you list for us all the civic society organizations you're involved in right now?
Oh, that would be challenging. Maybe I can list some of the things where that the organizations that I spend my majority of my time in.
Yes.
Because the rest, like they're multiplying with every day, every hour, and I somehow manage to squeeze more and more as time passes. But maybe the three organizations that I'm mostly engaged with are the three organizations in which I'm the chair or the co-chair. Mm-hmm. And the first one, my baby, is a Meeting Points. Mm-hmm. Meeting Points is an organization that attempts to create spaces where people can meet one another beyond stereotypes, beyond labels, and can have dialogue, a real transformative dialogue. And normally these people are, they come from all walks of life, and they have limited opportunities to meet one another. And we use art, and we use cooking and food as a way to do that, to bring people together and get them to talk.
It's lovely.
And that's my baby organization, because it's the first one that I started, and that was in 2018. The second one is Amnesty. Actually, Amnesty started in 2017. Amnesty is another very big passion of mine. In 2017, a few friends came together and decided that we have very big problems with human rights in Bulgaria, and we thought, well, what can we do? And we thought that bringing such a large organization to the country might maybe not solve the problem, but help So we started we started working towards that, like bringing Amnesty International to Bulgaria. And I'm happy to say that since this year we have an official chapter in the country, and next year we plan to recruit a director and have an office and everything like that. So how many years? 2017? Six.
Six, yeah.
It's been a 6-year journey, but a successful one.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. And the last one, it's called It's Up to Us. And that's a more humanitarian, well, up to this point, it's been a humanitarian organization that provides humanitarian support to people, mostly people from Ukraine that are currently living in Bulgaria. But we're thinking of moving or shifting our focus a little bit in next year.
Exciting. Change is coming.
Yes.
I actually wanted to ask you about Amnesty, because I think when I've thought about Amnesty International before, I always somehow imagined it as this like an all-powerful organization that is present all around the world. And I was surprised that we didn't have until 2017 in Bulgaria. How was the process? And can you tell us more about kind of bringing Amnesty to Bulgaria?
One word, tiring. It was a very, very long process. So 6 years, that's a very long time. Yeah. It's interesting because Amnesty has as an organization, they haven't opened any new offices for a very, very long time. That's one thing. And the second thing is that I think we are one of the first organizations to self-organize. Well, what does that mean? That normally the process is that Amnesty finds, they see that something like geopolitical changes are happening and certain things are happening in different countries. So what they do is they come to the country and they see, okay, are there issues that need to be worked on? Do we open an office? And they set up the office and they bring people, they interview people, and the International Secretariat actually take on the lead to open the office. With us, it happened a little bit differently. So as I said, we were just a few people that came together and said, we want to have an Amnesty office here. So we would, we messaged them and said, hey, we think that there is a really great need for this to happen in Bulgaria. How do we do it? And for many things, there were no processes. So we had to actually figure out, how do we do this? How do we do that? How do we show that we have enough support? How do we show that we're the right people to do this? How do we show, that we're financially, literate and we're not going to do something bad with, financially to damage the reputation of the organization. So there were many, many, many steps, and 6 years in, we're done. And I actually, in saying we're done, we're just starting because there is so much more that needs to be done. So much more. Maybe
this could be taken as a good practice for other places where they want to establish kind of ground up Amnesty International offices.
Yes, definitely. I would love for that to be a great case study on how you can bring such a large organization to your home country with great perseverance.
That's really admirable, and I'm glad you've done it. I was surprised really that Amnesty International is not in Bulgaria, because I think there is a need, and there has been continuously a need since before you've started, but I'm glad you did, and now there is here. How would you describe your role in Amnesty now?
Right now as a chair, I try to organize people and make sure that we have great connection with the International Secretariat, so there is an understanding of what their processes are and how they can be translated to the local reality, because sometimes you have this, they don't match very well. They don't always match very well. So there is things that can be implemented very easily, and there is things that need to be thought out a little bit more careful. And my role is being that bridge between the international office and the Bulgarian team. We're currently in the process of preparing for the recruitment of a director, and my role in this is to think more strategically. Where do we want to be? What do we want to achieve? How can we achieve it? And how do we work with these other organizations that are currently on the ground? Because there is a lot being done. There are organizations that are doing a lot in this area, and we have to see what our mandate is. Like, how are we different to them? What can we do? How can we bring them together? How can we work more collaboratively? And how can we achieve more than what we have achieved so far?
That's amazing. I'm sure that you're going to do great. From your profile and everything you've been doing, you're a connecting kind of leader and a person with a vision. So I'm sure that it's...
Oh, that's very sweet.
It's in the works for something amazing, I'm sure. And on that note, what are your kind of your vision when you are working with these civil society organizations? What are your values that you want to make sure are always there when in this scenario?
For me, like, the topic of values is such an important and a very, very big thing. And I think that my number one, I don't know if it's a value, but is I love to listen. I really want to listen. And I think as leaders, sometimes we tend to talk more than to listen. We're told, that it's expected of us to give answers. But I think the answers come from elsewhere. We're just the channels, making sure that all these answers are funneled in and thought out and then implemented. So my number one value is to listen. Yeah, listen.
I think that's also connected to your leadership style and how you approach leading, because in all the organizations that you mentioned, you're not just like a missing chairwoman that is there in name, but you are there working and helping and being in the beating heart of the organization. What is important for you in that sense as a leader, aside from listening, which I think is at the core of it, and I understand it's key, but...
Probably it's connected to listening, but inclusion. So making sure that everyone is included in the process, and it's not just inclusion for the sake of saying that people were included in the conversation, but making sure that they are really listened to, and their perception is taken into consideration when decisions are being made. Ideally, I love including people in decision making. I'm not the type of leader that will go, take all the information, close the door, make the decision, open the door.
I've churned all the information.
No. That's not me. But at the end of the day, someone needs to make the decision. And as a leader, sometimes I have to do it because there's so many different, opinions. And regardless of how much we talk and what pros and cons are given, it happens that people cannot come, to terms with one thing or another thing. So someone needs to step in and say, hey, I've heard what you have to say and I've heard what you have to say, and this is my proposed solution. Of course, taking into consideration what everyone has said before. So for me, inclusion is such a big thing, especially when we work with a vulnerable population. So people that very often don't get to say things. For many of them, this is a very new experience. Being heard, being invited to actually say what they think. For many of them, it's a matter of, another NGO is coming to, just tick the box and say that they've consulted us. So it's a process of actually not educating people, but showing them respect. It's as simple as that, showing respect.
That's amazing. I think that's really key in this, like respect, listening, including people. In the end, you get to harness their potential and to also, I think it inspires a lot of people.
Right, yeah, because people have so much to offer, and I think way beyond way beyond what we see, there is so much more. There is more, about their personal experiences, all of their skills and their thinking, and it's great.
So this is how you inspire others. And you've had this long journey with many different organizations. What keeps you inspired? What gets you going day after day after day?
Injustice probably is the number one thing for me.
Yeah.
I always ask myself that question, actually, but sometimes it's very hard. At the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I don't know, what do I dream of? What do I want? I feel so lost. And then I wake up and I'm like, yeah, like it's a new day and there is so much that can be done. And I think that injustice is the one thing that makes me keep going, because there is so much of it everywhere. And there is so much that can be done, especially if we do it together. I think one person cannot solve everything. One team cannot solve everything. One organization cannot solve all the problems. The only way forward is to be together and to work together and to learn how to collaborate better. But I also, I heard what you say, how you inspire others, but I find great inspiration from people around me, you including. I just, people are fantastic. Like they do so much, and they just, I don't know, every day I look around and I'm surrounded by people that amaze me with everything they do, with the way they think, with the way they are, with everything. And that's my burning light. It's the thing that makes me keep going every day.
I hear that kind of woven into all of your stories, the people together, from meeting points, inspiration, inclusion. It is bringing people together. I'm glad that even in the scope of Amnesty International, which is such a name, a power, even in name, you are still looking at how to connect with others. How can we collaborate with other organizations? I think that's the way forward, and that's how we can make real, lasting change.
Yeah, well, one of the things about Amnesty is that unlike other organizations, it's actually a movement. It's a movement of people. And so the idea of collaboration and working together is very, very powerful within the movement. But also within, the team that I work in, because I don't know, like it doesn't make sense. This division, this disconnection, it's not helping us. It's really not helping us. And in the past, I don't know, like few months, I've been thinking about the idea of radical solidarity as an antidote to all the disconnection and hatred and all the bad things that are currently happening in the world. So I champion radical solidarity, which for me means to help and to be there, not when I can offer, I don't need something and I can offer this to you, but to be there and to give even in times when I have very little. And that's in terms of time, in terms of, energy, in terms of, physical things. Mm-hmm. I hear a lot, people saying, well, if your glass is half full and you give someone half of your glass, then there is nothing left. And to some extent, I agree with that. But I also believe that if you fill in someone else's glass, then you have two people that can do something, and then they can find a collaborative way to fill their glasses and move forward and have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people. So yeah, radical solidarity is a very big thing for me.
It's amazing. I'm really happy to see something like this happening and kind of brewing around in society. I really hope that it gets more and more, like spreads around and gets to inspire more and more people to do it.
I hope so.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Vessi.